Yes, this question actually kept on cropping up. Whether you were in discussion with the students in the classes, or whether with the teachers, whether when you were planning the plan for any kind of an IQ test, we used to have a lot of discussions on this topic. So today I want to talk about the main elephant in the room, and that is vocabulary. Uh, uh, Before straight away going into the point, let me put some context forward to you. What is the context here? As a student, and right from your schooling times and even in the college times, what you have seen till now is you have seen whenever you see reading comprehension or whenever you see any kind of an English test, it is a language-based testing. So the focus is a language. So when the focus is the language, what exactly it brings to the table? When you talk about the language, it brings vocabulary as a very big thing. The second thing is the reading. You can say grammar, and even the literature skills and all. But when you look into an IQ kind of a testing, whenever you see English why they are not calling it English and why they are calling it verbal? Now here is the difference. Till now you have seen a testing which was language based testing, and right now what you are in front of is more of an IQ based testing. Now what exactly is the difference? When anyone will check you for, let's say, any language, what they will check you is some parameters they will check. But when you look at it in an IQ test like, let's say, CAT or a GMAT or a SAT or a CUET, do you really think it's the same coin, it's the same thing they are testing? I'll give an example to you. Many of the people right now, even when they prepare for an IQ test, they actually spend quite a lot of time on the vocabulary part. Now, if vocabulary would have been so important, then there might be some questions which you would be talking about vocabulary. Let's say in any kind of an IQ test, we don't see any questions which straight away is talking about any meaning or vocabulary part. That we don't see any questions like what is the meaning of this word. So this is one of the indication which an IQ test is given. All the IQ test basically is actually focused on the understanding part of yours. So what does it actually means? Whenever you see any kind of an IQ test, whether you are a GMAT student, CAT or a CUET or a SAT student, what you usually think is, when you look at any kind of a let's say passage or a paragraph, what you will automatically feel is there are so many difficult words. So if I'm not able to understand the difficult words, obviously I won't be able to understand the paragraph or the passage. And if I'm not able to understand the passage, मैं answer कैसे करने वाला, or how you will answer that question. I understand that understanding of yours, that logic or the rationale, I am understanding. But let's say if I put a 10th man's perspective. The 10th man's perspective is a perspective which brings a contrary view to the whole sitting paradigm. So what I'm saying is, you are not supposed to know the meaning. The point what I'm trying to say is, the first point what I'm trying to say is, in any kind of an IQ testing, you actually don't need any vocabulary for answering any of the question. Number two, if you are able to understand your graduate level books, let's say you are a science student and you are able to understand the Newton's law of motion or theory of relativity, and if you are a eco student, you are able to understand macro, micro, inflation, blah blah blah, GDP and all. If you are able to understand your course books, then you are quite good for any kind of an IQ test. The point what I'm saying is, you don't need a dictionary kind of a knowledge, or even you don't have to invest such a lot of time in understanding vocabulary or even the dictionary. So what exactly people do most of the times is, they will have, even there are many teachers with us, and so in that discussion, even many of the planning when we do for an IQ test, we have a syllabus we do it. We actually create a teaching plan. In that kind of a teaching plan, many of the times we have around 20 to 30%, I would say the focus is on the vocabulary part. See, nothing wrong in knowing a vocabulary. Okay, vocabulary is good, it's a knowledge. Knowledge is always good. But the real question, the elephant in the room is, do we really need a vocabulary for an IQ test? See, I'll give an example to you. If, let's say, in a paragraph you see there are 4 sentences, and let's say one sentence I'm not able to understand, or many of the words I'm not able to understand, then also am I able to get the main idea of the passage, or the main or the central idea of that paragraph? If I'm able to get the main idea of the paragraph or that central idea, I'm good to go. The point what I'm saying is, you are not getting the marks for understanding a passage. What exactly the marks are for is you marking the right choice in that MCQ. Okay. So my point, what I'm trying to say is, if you are able to get the main or the central idea of a paragraph or a passage or a reading comprehension, then you are good to go. You have a very good vocabulary. What exactly happens if you don't have that perspective? Your way of looking will change everything. I'll just tell you what exactly I'm saying. I'm just trying to find the right words here. Let's say, in all my school and the college times, what I've seen is the reading comprehension talking about meanings. It is talking about meaning of maybe a word or a clause or a phrase or a sentence. And it is very natural for me to go into the same kind of a perspective in an IQ test. And whenever I see a difficult word, or let's say a difficult phrase, or let's say out of the 4 sentences I'm not able to understand, let's say 3 sentences. Even if after not understanding the 3 sentences in a 4 sentence paragraph, if I'm able to come out with the central idea, then that's what was needed from me. I'll give one example. I'll show you a passage. Actually, what I did was, obviously, you people are the people who think with logic and rationale. So I understand that you'll theory or gyan mein koi nahi interested hai. I'll give a clear experiment I'll do with you. So what I did, in this CAT 2024, and even I looked at all the GMAT tests. GMAT keep on evolving the test every 2 to 3 years. Now, I kept on started looking for one paragraph, which I will 80% of the paragraph, much of the words I wouldn't be able to understand. And believe me, when I looked into the CAT 2024, even the slot 1, 2 and 3, I was not able to find one paragraph in which I would say the words were very difficult, or I needed a Shashi Tharoor's kind of a knowledge in words. So then I went to one more, even in the GMAT world, which is considered the verbal main, I think, most difficult level of testing, I was not able to find a single paragraph in which it was very difficult to understand the whole paragraph. Then I went to the EONASS, AEONSS. So I started looking to the EONASS and wanted to find out one paragraph which was very difficult to understand. And in one of the classes of mine, actually I was going through one of the passage, which was I'll just show that paragraph in some time to you. So in that paragraph, what exactly I'll show is there are 4 lines or 3.5 lines, and many of the words you will be able to understand. But if you are able to come out with the main idea, you will be able to answer the question. The point what I'm making is, reading comprehension in an IQ test doesn't need vocabulary knowledge. It doesn't want you to prepare in such a way so that you shouldn't be focusing your time into understanding the difficult words. A IQ test means what? Um, in many of the business schools, even interviews and all, there is usually a question which comes like that, like this. For example, let's say you are born in Bombay or Bangalore or Delhi, and you don't know anything about fisheries or anything. The question would be something like, they will give some inputs to you, like this is a revenue, this is the population of an area, and what they will do is they will try to see how you create a business plan, or how you are able to create your understanding with very little knowledge of whatever the inputs they are giving to you. For example, if a Delhi based guy who has studied in Delhi and college might be in Bangalore or Noida or whatever the area might be, अगर उसे पूछेंगे फिशरीज के बारे में, if you are asking a, let's say you have to open a shop selling fish in, let's say, Andaman and Nicobar Islands, and let's say the total population of Andaman and Nicobar Islands are, let's say, 4 lakhs people or 10 lakh people, and out of that, how you will create a business plan of the total business if you have to establish a business of a, let's say, selling a fish is something, you have to open a shop. So what exactly is being tested here is, with little knowledge, and what is the knowledge you are able to come up with, are you able to create the web? Are you able to create the dots to make or to come out with some kind of a central or the main idea of the whole thing? So this is what an IQ test checks. So let's say, if in an IQ test we shouldn't be focusing on difficult words, rather we should always be concentrating upon context meaning, or as we can call it, contextual meaning. So if contextual meaning you are able to understand without even understanding a difficult word or a phrase or a clause or a sentence, it's good to go for you. So right now what I'll do is, I'll show you one of the experiment. I'll show you a small passage, and we will try to relate. We'll try to prove our, I would say, theory. No, we can't call it theory. We will try to prove our hypothesis in that passage, and if we prove it, it will become a theory. Okay, so let's do it. So let's start our experiment here. So what we are talking about, we are looking at a very small paragraph, and we will do this experiment where we will just try to find out that even without understanding many of the words, am I able to get the main idea of the total paragraph. Now, this thing we did with around 4 of our classes. So usually one of the class has an average of 30 to 40 people. So you may say for 150 odd people, this experimentation was done. So what was the findings here? 70% people guessed the answer. They didn't know the answer and they just guessed it and marked it. Now obviously if you're guessing it, your probability of marking the correct answer would be very low, and that's what exactly happened. Now when the question came, why exactly the guessing happened? The answer was that they were not able to understand the paragraph. Now when we look at this paragraph, let's read the paragraph and let's see, am I able to understand the main idea of the paragraph or not? The shore, that immeasurable thing that will exist as long as sea and land do. At waterfronts we relish gently splashing waters, at the edge of glassy expanses, where powerful currents move unfathomable volumes at speed. At waterfronts we dread waves stirred by the wind and coming at an inexorable beat from invisible distances. So I understand there are many things which is difficult to understand. You may not know what is immeasurable fringe, you may not know what is the glassy expanse, you may not understand what do you mean by unfathomable volumes, what do you mean by inexorable beat. I can understand. These are the things. Now what exactly happens in this case is, many of the students who would be reading it, and if they are not able to understand any words or a phrase, they will assume that they are not understanding the passage. It's not like you don't have to understand each and everything in the paragraph. Even if you're understanding, let's say, small bit of things, small bit of information, you would be able to come out with the main idea. And this is what an IQ test is. We call it contextual reading. The point what I'm saying is you have to understand the meaning of any difficult word or a phrase just looking at the context in which it is put. So that's what an IQ test checks. It doesn't check you for the vocabulary part. Now, even with the, let's say, 6th or a 7th class student, let's say I have the vocabulary knowledge of a 6th class student, how will I understand the main idea? I can understand this word. They are talking about shore. They are talking about land and sea. They are talking about waterfront. They are talking about the words like relish. Maybe I'm not understanding these glassy expanses and blah, blah, blah. So move unfathomable volumes, I'm not able to understand, let's say. So till now, what exactly the words I'm able to understand? I'm able to understand shore. I'm able to understand sand and leaves, sea and land, waterfronts I'm able to understand, and even the walks, splashing waters. Okay, so powerful currents move. I am not able to understand, let's say, the unfathomable volumes. I may not be able to understand. And then at waterfronts, we dread waves stirred by the wind and coming. Maybe I'm not able to understand stirred. I am able to understand the word called dread here. This word. Stirred by the wind and the coming at it, I'm not able to understand inexorable beat from invisible distances. So what are the main things I'm able to understand? Let me check what are the things I'm able to understand. I'm able to understand the shore. I'm able to understand the waterfronts, sea and the land, splashing waters, powerful currents. I'm able to understand that I relish it. I understand waterfront. I understand dreading. I understand wind. I understand. I'm not able to understand inexorable beat. So, mota kya samajh aaya? Or I will say the main things which I'm able to understand. They are talking about shores. They are talking about some kind of an emotions in which they are talking about splashing waters, which you relish. Okay. And the second thing, what we dread. So what exactly, even if I'm not able to understand, let's say 50 to 60% of the words in the paragraph, then also I'm able to understand they are talking about shore, they are talking about waterfront, they are talking about tides, so maybe waves, they are talking about relishing it, and they are even talking about dreading it. Even with a 6th class knowledge and understanding of the context and understanding just what it might mean, I can easily assume that it is talking about the shores and something relishing, something I'm relishing and something I'm dreading. मुझे डर भी है, मुझे खुशी भी है. So, and ऐसा कोई main idea है इसका develop होना चाहिए. Now, when I went into the main idea passage, the first part says the shore is a place of both peace, enjoyment, and the danger. So this actually gels with my understanding of the main idea. Now, here is also one more trick to the IQ test. Whenever you have to go into the answers of an IQ test, never ever straight away move into the choices. The IQ test is built in such a way that if you straight away move into the choices, there are 90 to 90% chances in which you are going to get lost in the answers. The answers are very placed in such a way and so much together that it would be very difficult for you to have a bullseye. Now, the best way to do for an IQ test is you straight away, you should have an answer with you before moving into the MCQ choices. So in that way, just like in this case, what I have shown you is when we are able to understand that shore, relishing, dreading, so I am able to bring out some kind of a complex or a kind of, I would say, contrasting ideas of happiness and a contrasting idea of fear. Now, when I looked into the first thing, it actually gelled with my main idea, and actually this is the answer. But you would be surprised to know that out of the 150 people, 70% people mark this as the correct answers. Now, when you went more into it, what are the answers they were giving, the people who guessed it?
70% guessing an answer just because they were not able to understand some of the words or the phrases in a paragraph. Now, what exactly happened is they assumed that they have an assumption that they were expected to know each and every word, and then only they would be knowing the meaning of the paragraph. Actually, it's not the case. uh, Even without understanding each and everything, you should be, or you would be able to come out with the main idea if you have the right perspective to look into it. You are not expected to have the difficult vocabulary ready. You just need to know what exactly is the big thing, big picture of the whole paragraph, और हम हिंदी में बोलते हैं उसका मोटा मोटा वो क्या दिख रहा है, या in English we can say what is the synopsis, or what is the paraphrasing, or what is the central idea of the thing. So this experiment, what exactly shows is 70 to 80% of people just went out guessing of an answer of a question even without trying it. Reason being, they just looked at a difficult word, they assumed that they wouldn't be able to understand the main idea or the central idea of the passage. So when we carefully look at each and every, let's say, the options from B, C, D, and E, what exactly we are finding? Let's say the first option we're talking about, the B option. Waterfronts having glassy expanses are fascinating places to observe natural forces. Now, if you will not have an answer with you right at the starting for moving in, before moving into the MCQ choices, this actually will be looking like an answer to you, because glassy expanses and everything, you are going to relate it with the glassy expanses here, and this is what many of the people do mistakes. If you look at the third option, the sea and the land are constantly in a state of flux, gently splashing water at the edge of glassy expanses. Once more, the same thing will happen. You will try to relate it with this thing. The D part. Now, when we just telling you, if that's all the 70% people guessing, out of that, 50% of the people, that is, I might say 35% of the people, 50% of 70% is 35, so has marked D as the right answer. Now just look at the D part. The power of the ocean is both awe-inspiring and terrifying, and unfathomable volumes and dreadful waves. Actually, it comes very close to the A point. But what exactly it is lacking is the emotions which it will bring in. When I say relish, can I say I'm at awe, or can I say I'm enjoying? Okay, so the choices would be so much close to each other that would be very difficult for even a trained mind to come out with answers. So even a trained mind, the people who are getting more than 99 percentile, after marking it, will have some kind of a question mark in their mind whether they have marked it correctly or not. But then also, just having an answer before moving to the choices will improve your accuracy a lot. So that's the main data points out of this experiment.
So what exactly this experiment shows? And this experiment, the main learning out of it is how the perspective changes the whole equation. Why 70% people guessed it even if they were able to understand some part of the paragraph. The idea is a perspective, the way you look at it. अगर आप देख ही ऐसे रहे हैं पूरे टेस्ट को कि ये टेस्ट वोकैबुलरी टेस्ट है या ये टेस्ट अंडरस्टैंडिंग ऑफ द पैराग्राफ है, the main IQ test will actually focus upon is how are you able to understand the main things, just joining the dots, whatever you are able to understand, rather than focusing on difficult parts of the paragraph. I'll give an example here. One more example, okay? Let's say, what do you feel like? Let's say if you're the CEO of a company, you are all becoming business leaders, maybe of some multinationals in the future, or might be you may have your own something in which you will develop some business of yours. So what exactly is expected? Do you really think the people who are good in business, or are the people who are the CEO of any multinational companies or anything, are they expert in everything? The answer is no. So what exactly is the trait they have that they have become the CEO of the company? The trait is the IQ. The point is, even if I'm not able to understand the nitty-gritties of, let's say, software coding, or let's say the nitty-gritty of any kind of an operations or a product, then also I will become the CEO if I know how to build, how to create a main idea from the points which I'm able to understand. So a CEO need to understand the mota point, or I would say the synopsis of the thing, rather than going into the details of each and everything. The same thing you are being tested for in an IQ test. Okay, so perspective is very important. Number one, it is not a vocabulary test. Number two, it is not a language test. Okay, it is not a reading test. So you are not expected to be an expert in English. Now there might be many questions, and I know even in my class a question came that then why English is being tested. Actually, the English is not being tested. They are calling it verbal. And English, why they are using English is because English is the most universal language. Let's say the language would have been Hindi. Let's say if it would have been a universal language all over the globe, the test would have been in Hindi. So they're using a universal language, but the idea is to test the IQ. So just keep this experiment in mind. 70% people went for the wrong answer just by assuming that they don't know the main idea, and they just focused on difficult words. But the point was, in an IQ test, you're not expected to know the every word. You are just expected to get the main idea, and even if I'm not able to understand 80% of the paragraph, it can be the case that you can get the main idea or the central idea even without understanding 80 to 90% of the paragraph. The important क्या है? Perspective. आप कैसे देख रहे हैं चीज को? Okay. So signing out now, and just remember one thing: perspective of the way you're looking at a thing changes the whole thing. Life में भी होता है. Life में भी the way you are looking at the life, the perspective will change everything. Okay. चलो, good luck. Bye bye.